G'day and welcome back to Derriere Farms, where today we are taking a look at what is probably the last blog Giants is going to release prior to the release of Precision Farming 22. The reason I say that is if we go all the way down to the bottom, it looks like pretty much all the topics have now been covered and are now all green. So I don't see them releasing any more information. They're just going to release the product after the long weekend. And yes, it is a long weekend. Yes, weekend. I don't know how it works in Europe in terms of days off, but most companies here that are in the sort of business that Giants is in will give Good Friday off and will also give Good Monday or Easter Monday off because Easter Sunday is a stat which falls on a weekend, so to compensate for that, they give Mondays off. At least that's the way it works in Canada. Okay, so let's dig into the meat and potatoes. And at the end, I will tell you what questions I have that remain unanswered. And then we will go from there. So here's a chart of Erlingrat. Recognize those field shapes in the dealership anywhere. And it looks like the difference between these three fields. Did you buy these three fields separately or did you buy them together? I forget. But anyway, so it looks like overall 74, 74, and 77, giving an average environmental score of 75%. Nitrogen got 21. pH values gets 10. Weed control gets 20. Soil sampling gets the maximum of 15. And tillage is 8.3. So they either used the shallow cultivator or did direct drilling, but I believe direct drilling will give you the maximum amount. So the environmental score indicates whether your crops are growing in an environmentally friendly and sustainable way. The score ranges from 0 to 100 points, the default state being a neutral score of 50 points. You can gain or lose points for your score depending on the way you farm. Depending on your score, you can gain 15% more yield for your crops or lose 15%. Going back to the map, what I'm not sure about as far as that goes is this tells me your environmental score increases your sell prices, not your yield, your sell prices by 8%. Whereas down here, it says you will gain either 15% yield bonus or a yield loss. So I'm not sure which one is right. I guess we will find out on Tuesday. The score for your farm is calculated based on various factors. Those apply to every field you own. If you zoom into your map, you'll see an individual score for each field. Check which fields need better management to raise your total environmental score. And there are a couple of variables we'll go over in a minute. So I'm thinking that this map represents the only 3 fields they have, but you never know. I mean, this is a blog done by giants, so they can do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Okay, so factors scoring, environmental scoring factors, that's what I was trying to say. 15 points for soil sampling. Well, you would have to do soil sampling to get an idea of your field, so that's a must do. 30 points based on nitrogen levels. 30 points based on nitrogen levels, 15 based on pH, a maximum of 10 points for reduced tillage. So 10 points for minimal tillage, i.e. direct seeding, 5 points for shallow tillage, and 0 points for plowing. Weeds, you get 30% for spot spraying, 20% for mechanical weeding, 15% for the whole field, or 15 points, not percent, and you get 10 points for no weed control. So the total score is 100 for each field, and therefore your whole farm is based on nitrogen levels, pH values, weed control, soil sampling, and tillage. Only by taking care of all those factors can you access the full potential, meaning yield, of your crops and score a perfect 100. So we'll go over what we already know. The 15 points for soil sampling, you can either use the Scout or you can pay somebody to do it for you. They both one's free, the other one costs you. Reduced tillage. Tillage affects your environmental score. Deep tillage, like plowing, burns a lot of fuel, digs up seeds to the soil surface, and makes soil susceptible to erosion. Okay, I will agree with the erosion plant. Normally, one of the reasons people plowed was to completely bury the weeds below the ground. Kind of like when you dig your vegetable garden, you turn the soil completely over so the weeds suffocate and can't sprout. Shallow tillage saves fuel, reduces erosion, and is rewarded with 5 points. Minimal tillage, I'm not sure what minimal tillage is, and because they say and direct seeding will be rewarded with the maximum score of 10 points. Minimal tillage has to be the same as shallow tillage. They're just using the term differently. Now, 30 points based on nitrogen levels. The score score changes depending on fertilization. The maximum score of 30 can only be reached if you use manure sensors for organic fertilization and crop sensors for mineral fertilization. Overly fertilized fields will decrease the score because the excessive nitrogen will leach and pollute the groundwater. Under-fertilization also decreases the score because you won't reach your full yield potential. so that crop takes less CO2 out of the atmosphere. The nitrogen score will only be updated after harvest. Fair enough. Maintaining an pH levels. Maintaining an optimal pH level is prerequisite for sustainable farming. You can only reach the full potential if the soil has the right balance for nutrient storage and mineralization. If the pH value is too high or too low, it will decrease the score. The score gets updated after each harvest. Now, the weeds. The full score of 30% is reached by using spot. I don't know what's wrong with my tongue today. Is by using spot spraying technology. That way you perfectly control weeds through minimal usage of herbicides while reaching the optimal yield. To use spot spraying technology, you will have to use the John Deere R732i power spray, which is included with precision farming. So we know that if you use mechanical weeders, it drops to a 20% gain. If you spray the whole field with your sprayer, you only get a 15% bonus. Questions on a postcard in a second. And if you don't control weeds at all, you will get the lowest score of 10 points. Because this has a very negative impact on yield and increases the long-term weed pressure. This is not helpful to feeding and growing world population and therefore not efficient or sustainable. And then they talk about Tuesday the 19th being released. Okay, so there's a couple of questions I have. Right now in the game, and we'll look at this, this doesn't apply because we don't have soil sampling yet. So you get a minimum of 15 points based on that. Reduced tillage. So I plant a cornfield in the game right now, or sugar cane, or potatoes, and I have to plow the field when I'm done. It's a prerequisite. Are they dropping that prerequisite, or is it still going to be there and you will have to suffer the penalty of planting another crop after corn and not having plowed ground? In real life, farmers will direct plant soybean into corn, or they will direct plant corn into soybean and barley. So I'm guessing they're going to get rid of the plowing need after doing your field work. So nitrogen levels, I'm assuming, are going to have to be checked a couple of times. With Precision Farming 19, and this is what I don't understand, is they say the feature carries over from Precision Farming 19 is variable rate mineral fertilizing. what that meant in Farming Simulator 19 was if you set your planter to automatic, it would know, depending on the soil type you are going over and what's already in the ground, it would know how much nitrogen to put down when it planted the seed, and you didn't have to touch nitrogen again. To me, this looks like it's going to be variable. It'll put down your minimum nitrogen levels when you seed, and then you will occasionally have to check on your crops to make sure they are maintaining that nitrogen level. Now, based on pH, how that's going to work, I'm not sure. What I did in Farming Simulator 19 was I did my planting. Weeding was a thing because they didn't have spot spraying, so you had to weed unless you had weeds completely turned off. But I'd go through that. I would harvest the field, and I would then, again, using the auto sensor, it was variable rate liming. I would lime every field after it had been harvested to bring it back up to the maximum yield. You could go longer. You didn't have to do it. You could go, I think, before it became troublesome, it was, again, typical 3 cycles. But obviously, the longer you went without putting the pH value back up, the less crop you grew. So I'm not sure if it's going to work the same way in Farming Simulator 22. These are all questions that I think are very valid, and the only way we are going to find out is by playing Precision Farming on Tuesday when it comes out. I am already setting up a test farm. So that we can just dig right into it. And we will do a couple of different comparisons, like I said, between, easy one will be whether there's a yield improvement from using lime each and every time, as long as it's got the variable rate sensor built into it, you should be fine. If it doesn't, oh boy, that's going to be tricky to get the perfect lime, because it depends on the type of soil you're using. The same with planting after corn. I will have a cornfield ready to be harvested or harvested. And then as far as nitrogen levels go, we will also see whether a variable rate seeder capable of planting seeds and nitrogen at the right rate will last the whole season, or if you'll have to spray again. One of my thoughts suddenly on this is it might be for farms. There aren't a lot of large direct drills except the Borgo one that just came out, and one or two others that put nitrogen into the ground or fertilizer while you're seeding. Most of the seeders require you to seed and then apply nitrogen afterwards. Going back to the blog on variable nitrogen rates, that makes me think that is going to be the way it works, because the blog stated that you have to wait till there is enough greenery, or the crops are green and grown enough for the sensor to be able to test their nitrogen levels. So, that's today's blog. 5 more days, we'll find out what's going on, and we will spend probably most of next week digging into how precision farming works and how it impacts, oh my goodness, I should just do a blooper reel. How precision farming impacts the yield bonuses we already have in the game. All right. Take care. If I don't see you before, I hope everyone has a great holiday weekend. And we will see you when Precision Farming comes out. Thank you. Take care. Remember to leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe, as new content comes out all the time.